Hey everyone, welcome to my drawing video. Today we're going to talk about drawing self-portraits, and I'm really excited. We do this every year at Knox, and it's so fun to see everybody's unique individual self-portraits. So welcome to all of you. I'm so glad you're here to draw with me. We're going to talk about how to draw a face, and sometimes when we talk about drawing faces, some people are super excited to do a self-portrait, and some people are a little hesitant because they're worried about drawing a face and will it look realistic and will it look like me? So I'm going to give you a couple tips and drawing helps to help your face look unique and be a reflection of you. Okay, so we're going to talk about the first kind of lines that you want to lay down, and we're going to talk about the type that let me talk about the type of drawing that we're doing. We're going to do an observational drawing. Now, when you talk about making observations, maybe you think about like a scientist making scientific observations. And if you think of it like that, we actually kind of do the same thing as an artist when we make observational drawings. So the difference between maybe an observational drawing and maybe another type of drawing you've done is that observational drawing just means that exactly that you observe what you're looking at, that you really observe what it is that you are seeing. Now there's another type of drawing called symbols, and sometimes we draw symbols. So if you were to draw a flower that's a symbol, you might doodle something like this. And that is perfectly okay and perfectly fun to draw. I doodle stuff like this all the time. A lot of us doodle in symbols. That's not an actual flower that we're looking at. It's just a symbol that we have made up that kind of means flower, right? Kind of looks like a flower, and it's fun to doodle that way. It's perfectly fine. But today we're doing an observational drawing. Now, if I were making an observational drawing of a flower, I might have a flower. I have a picture of a flower I'm kind of looking at right now, and it has these layers and layers of petals, and they get smaller and smaller and smaller, and they overlap. And then it has some little leaves that stick out here. And then it kind of has a long stem. And then the leaves are kind of pokey like that. And the leaves kind of come up in groups. And there's just a little more detail in this flower. So do you see the difference between my symbol right here and my observational drawing? So an observational drawing, now there's nothing wrong with a symbol, drawing a symbol. That's perfectly fun and fine, and we have lots of fun artists who do that every day in their art. But today we're learning how to do an observational drawing. And this is where you really are kind of like a scientist. You are observing these little details, visual details that you pick up on with your eye. And it just takes, it just means being a little bit careful and really looking at something, slowing down and taking the time to really look at the details. And you may say, well, I'm, not really going to be an artist and I'm not really interested in art. But this exercise is just a good exercise for your brain, because when you learn how to slow down and take very careful observations with your eyes, it's a skill that you will use for a lot of things, not just art. If you learn how to make good observations, then they've actually shown this with, official studies. It makes you a better doctor. It makes you a better scientist. It makes you a better songwriter or author when you learn how to make these, notice these detailed observations. It just helps you think more deeply and carefully about things. And that's always helpful, I think, in whatever you're doing. So this exercise to draw an observational drawing of a face, we're going to get away from symbols. And, a lot of you have probably, everybody has drawn this symbol, right? We know how to draw a face. We might add some little symbols like that, and we might do, you know, and that's totally fine. That's fun. But that's not an observational drawing. That's a symbol. And there's no magic to making an observational drawing. It's just being careful and using your eyes and going carefully. So I'll show you how to do that today. My other reminder for you, I always tell my kids this, when we do art, draw lightly. So you're going to get going on your face and you're going to be so excited and you're going to draw the eyes or the shape of the outline of the face with your pencil. And then you're going to need to change something because every artist, well, I don't know of any artist that puts down every line perfectly every time. It just doesn't happen. You're going to need an eraser. See this friendly pink eraser? It's so great. This eraser is your friend. Let me write that so you can remember it. Erasers are your friend. Okay. Draw lightly so that you can use your eraser. There's usually a lot of frustration when kids sit down to draw and they want to make a change in their drawing, which of course you're going to want to at some point. And then the lines are really dark. And then you have to sit there. A lot of times they sit there with a little tiny eraser like this, and they erase and they erase and they erase. And they're like, oh, I have to erase my whole line, my whole drawing. And that takes a lot of time and energy, right? When you'd rather be working on your drawing. So draw lightly. I just have regular old pencil here. And if you have a pink eraser like this, a big one, that will help. Sometimes these little erasers, like the one on this pencil, is really bad. It actually makes the drawing worse. When you use it, it smears the drawing and makes it worse. Okay, so let's get down to it. Sorry, that was a long intro. Here's how we're going to draw our face. Now, we're just going to be using basic shapes. So don't freak out and don't say, I can't draw a face. I can't draw people. It's too hard. If you can draw a circle and you can draw a curved line, and you can draw a straight line, then you can draw a face. I'm pretty sure all of you can draw circles. Okay, I'm drawing this pretty lightly. I'm just doing a circle here, and sometimes my camera is bumpy, sorry. I'm just drawing a circle. I'm going to draw it a little darker than I would normally draw it, just so that you can see it on the screen, because you're not actually here looking at my paper, okay? So there's a circle. You can go around a few times till you like it. If you were like, oh, didn't mean to do that bump, you got your eraser ready. Okay, below the circle, we're just going to do a U shape, okay? I don't know, it might be kind of a V, kind of a U, kind of a really soft V shape. So what you're going to end up with is kind of an egg shape, an egg-shaped oval, okay? Now this will be the same for everyone's face. Notice that I'm really kind of still drawing lightly, and I kind of like, I started out a little small, and I'm just going to make it a little bigger. So I got my eraser, so it's no problem. And then I'm going to erase this bottom part of the circle. We actually don't need that. We kind of just drew it in order to get the shape of the head started. Okay, this is where you'll start making some observations. Now, some of us have a really round shape right here. We have a very round chin and kind of round cheeks, and you'll just have like a round face shape. I know that's how my face shape is shaped. Some of us have a longer, more oval face. So your chin may come down and be a little more sharp. You may have a little bit of a sharp chin. Now, I should have said at the beginning, if you want to sit a mirror in front of you so that you can make observations while you're drawing and really look at your face. Maybe you've never looked at your face shape for the first time. So really look straight across and look at the shape of your chin. Do you have a pointy chin? Do you have a little bit thinner face? You might have a thinner face, and so you might kind of take the sides here, and you might make them a little bit thinner. Do you have a place right here where your cheeks kind of come out? Some of us have kind of rounder cheeks. So make some observations, and I'm going to kind of bring this head shape up. I feel like this part's a little too round, so I'm going to erase that. Now my eraser isn't working really terrifically. Actually, it's kind of smearing a little bit, but I think it's because this paper that I'm using doesn't like this eraser. In the end, we're going to paint over all of this with paint. So even if you have smudgy stuff like I do right here, it'll be okay. We can paint over it. And we won't see the pencil lines when we're done with the portrait. Okay, so now you have kind of an oval egg shape. You kind of looked at your chin shape and the shape of your face, whether it's long and oval, whether it's maybe a little shorter and rounder. Often in young children, you'll have a much rounder, shorter face without much of a chin, and little children have kind of round cheeks and round faces. Okay, so I'll give you a few proportions that are kind of the same on every face. This is how your face is divided up. Now, we don't all look the same. So obviously these are just basic proportions for the human face. And then yours will be slightly different based on your observations, right? Some people have a little bit larger eyes. Some people have a little bit larger nose, longer nose. Everybody's face is unique. That's what's great about drawing faces. Okay, so I want you to look at a couple measurements here. So this is the top of the head and the bottom of the chin. Now, sometimes the hair throws us off on these measurements, so we're not going to add hair yet. But halfway through the top of the head and the bottom of the chin, you're just going to kind of make a halfway mark, really light dotted line. That's where your eyes are. Sometimes we put the eyes really close to the top of the head because we kind of don't count that hair measurement. But actually, you know, if you didn't have the hair and you measured out your face, your eyes are about halfway. So we'll kind of mark where the eyes are. I'm going to do kind of a round almond shape like this for the eyes. Now you need to look and make some observations in the mirror. Some people have kind of a pointed, the outside of their eyes right here are kind of points like that. Some people have more of kind of a slant to their eyelid, and we'll get into a little bit more detail in later, but just kind of take a look at your eyes and the shape they are, and make those two shapes right there. Now, this line we made halfway through, we're going to measure from that line to the bottom of the chin, and we're going to do another halfway mark. Kind of right there. There's a light little dotted line. I hope you can see the line. I'll make it a little darker for you guys. Yeah, that halfway mark. Notice I don't ever get it really right on the first time. I always use my eraser. But I wish my eraser was a little bit better on this paper. So that's where your nose is going to sit. Now, don't freak out about noses. Noses are pretty simple. The simplest way to do a nose is to kind of bring a line down from the eye right here and just draw kind of a curve shape, like a wide U, and the line that kind of connects. There's kind of a line from your eyebrow down to your nose. That's the simplest way to do a nose. If you want to add a little bit more, you know how you'd have for the kind of your two nostrils, there's a little tip of your nose, and then there's those two kind of side parts of your nose. Now, some of you your nose might be a little shorter. Your nose might be kind of, you want to look at where are the eyes and how far is my nose from my eyes. And that really, these little measurements will help you get a drawing to actually look like a specific person. So if I was doing a drawing of someone and I wanted it to look like them, I would really look, I always check this measurement. How far from the inside of the eyes right here down to the bottom of the nose? And if that's a little too long and it needs to be up a little bit, then I would move it. I would really check that measurement. How far from the inside corner of your eyes down to your nose? Okay, between the nose and the chin, we're going to mark another halfway line. And this is just kind of a basically how far it is. On you, you want to kind of take that measurement. There's going to be a little dip right here, and you guys know what that is. It's like the little snot catcher. I don't know what other people call it, but that's what I call it. It's like a little divot that your snot runs. So that's like that little bow in your lip right there, okay? So we're going to kind of make a light line for the lips, like this. There's the corner of the mouth, and there's kind of a dip right here in your lip. So there's this dip under your nose and kind of that dip. And then the bottom lip right there.
I took a shower.
Okay. All right. So, and like I said, take a look, see what shape you think your chin is. Okay, mine's really smeary, but that's okay. Now, everybody's lips are a little different. I drew like just a really basic drawing here. Some people have a little bit wider bottom lip than their top lip. Some people have a pretty thin, thinner lips. Some people have fuller lips. Some people's mouth is wider. You're going to kind of just draw your mouth in a relaxed expression. If you want to kind of make a happier smile, the secret to drawing someone who looks happy is these little corners of your mouth right here. And if you can kind of make that little indentation, then it kind of feels like they're grinning a little bit, right? Okay, so let's go back to the eyes. Now look at the shape of your eyelid. I did the outline of an eye right here. Maybe I'll zoom in on the eye a little bit. Okay. So I did an outline of it. Now I'm just going to show you one eye shape, but it really depends on what your eyes look like. The shape of your eyelid is really going to make a difference on whether or not your drawing looks like you. So really pay attention to the shape of your eyelid. There's the part that goes around your eyeball like that, and then there's the lid. And does your lid like curve up like a rainbow shape? It's just like a perfect curve? Or do you have a little bit of a slant? Like this person has a little bit of a slant to their eyes right there. If you can really look at that. And then the shape of your bottom lid. Everybody has a little bit different shape to that bottom lid too. Now your eyeball, if you were to take off your eyelid and look inside under your skin, your eyeball is a perfect circle right there. So sometimes when you see a little bit of a shape under here, like a little, when you get old like me, you have a little bit of a bags under your eyes and you're too tired. That's because the shape of your eyeball is a perfect sphere underneath your skin. And you can see that shape under your skin. You can see that sphere. And you can even, if you take your fingers and feel a little bit, your eyeball, it's a perfect sphere. So that kind of gives us that shape of the eyelid underneath. And then just more little observations, okay? So you're going to look at your eyebrows. Some people have eyebrows, they just literally just go straight across like that. Really straight eyebrows. Some people have eyebrows that have a little arch right there. Like kind of, that's kind of what the shape of my eyebrows is. There's kind of an arch right there. And some people's eyebrows are curved, just like a rainbow. There's just, you know, a nice curve like a rainbow. So you wanted to draw the shape of your eye and look at the shape of your eyelid and look at the shape of your eyebrows. There are more measurements that you want to look at. How far up are your eyebrows? And these eyebrows are looking really dark, but your eyebrows might be really light. If you're super blonde, then you're just going to have really light eyebrows. Okay. Now, sometimes when we draw a symbol, a face that's a symbol, we just put little circles in the eyes with like black dots. Okay, no circles with black dots in your eyes. In an observational drawing, if you look at your eyes, there's not going to be circles and black dots. You will see a pupil, but it's not going to be dark black. And unless you're super, super surprised or scared, you're not going to see the entire iris. The iris is the colored part of your eye. So I'll start drawing the iris now. You're going to see the sides of the iris, And some people have a little bit bigger shape and some people have a little bit littler shape. But you're only going to see the sides of that iris. And then the bottom lid is going to kind of cover up, and the top lid will kind of cover up those. And then you will have kind of a pupil shape right there. And there's always a little bit of a shadow under that eyelid. Now, contrary to what most people think, all boys and girls have the same amount of eyelashes, unless you're wearing makeup. So if you want to put a few eyelashes, everybody has them. We'll do the same thing for the iris on this side. One thing about how far apart your eyes are. It's easy to get lost and you're drawing this beautiful eye over here with the eyelid and the eyebrow and everything. And then you realize it's like way off on the side of the face. So check those measurements before you get into those details. Check the measurements. It's really hard to move the whole eye when you've gotten this far. But I've done it because like I mess up all the time. And right now, like if I was drawing myself, this nose is way too low. I'd have to move it up because I have a really short nose. And I have kind of a smaller mouth like this. I'm not really looking at a mirror right now, so I'm kind of guesstimating. And I have kind of, I'm not really drawing myself. I'm just showing you some observations you can make. But, okay, measurements for the eyes. This is interesting. How far apart are my eyes? Well, your eyes are about the distance of an eye apart. So if you were to imagine that you had a third eye, like right here, like a cyclops, right in between those eyes, it would be the same width. So measure this eye and this eye and make sure you guys kind of have those the same. And we can put a little dotted line down the center just to help you. We're drawing a symmetrical face, although interesting to note, nobody's face is actually totally symmetrical. Everybody's face is a little bit asymmetrical. If you actually measured it, only people with really, really symmetrical faces can be like fashion models because there's not a lot of us who look like that. Okay, so that's how far apart those eyes are. It's about the width of one eye. Okay, now ears are going to start when you're looking face on, like someone like this. You're not going to see much. You're only going to see the front portion of their ear, and it's going to start about from just where the eyebrow starts right there to the bottom of the nose. Okay. And maybe your ears stick out a little bit. Guys, I know some of us, this is true. If your ears stick out a little bit, you got to draw a little bit more coming out right there, okay? But you take a look in the mirror and look at your ears. Now, let's talk about hair because this really... Okay, going back to your face shape, you can kind of... This measurement is important. How far from the corners of your eyes to this... side of your face, how far is that? Some people have a wider face, and this is going to be a lot wider, and some people have a skinnier face. So really pay attention, and this will make it look like you, as if you really look at that outline shape of your face. Okay. The neck is going to start. Okay. See the corners of the eyes here? That's about where the neck is going to start. For the neck, just draw a line down, and then it kind of curves. Down, and then kind of make it the same on both sides. And we're not going to draw floating heads, so you won't have much space for the neck, but then you want to like, you probably want to draw like your favorite t-shirt, like your favorite Star Wars t-shirt that you love to wear. You could maybe put a little bit of that in there. Okay, now let's talk about hair. Your first inclination when you're drawing is often to just draw each strand of hair like this, like one at a time. Well, you have too many strands of hair to actually make that work. And it doesn't actually read as hair. Okay, so if you're making an observation about your hair, you won't see all the little individual tiny hairs. You'll see a shape. And they'll tell you this over and over in drawing classes. Look at the shape, okay? So I'm going to use my eraser. I'll do a couple different examples of hair. Let's start with maybe some short hair first. wherever your part is, you know, there's a part in your hair, you're going to draw your part. And then maybe your hair is a little longer and it's coming down here about to the eyebrows, right? Even with short hair, it can reach down that far. And then you're all going to have like a different shape to your hair and your head. And this is an important observation to make. Do you have a wider head? Do you have a skinnier head? Your hair is going to add a little bit of a shape to your head. Okay, so if you have short hair, maybe it comes down to about your ears right there. And maybe you have some pieces that kind of stick up a little bit. Maybe you want to draw those little pieces. Maybe there's a few strands that come down. And there's, maybe you have some little bits that stick out like that, and you can draw those shapes. Look for those little shapes in your hair. So that's maybe a shorter hairstyle. Now I'm going to erase it all. And let's try another shape. Maybe you have, maybe you can see your whole forehead, and you have like hair that kind of goes up in a whoosh like this. And then you're going to draw this shape of the hair coming up like that. And this side's kind of like the same. Maybe there's a few pieces that stick out. But you're going to kind of draw the shape of the hair and not like little individual hairs. So there's another hair shape. This is kind of fun. We're just trying different kinds of hair. Okay, maybe you have long hair. If you have long hair, you might not see your ears at all, or maybe you tuck your hair behind your ears. That's what I'm going to do here. So there's going to be, maybe your hair, just look at this shape right here. What your head is kind of giving your hair your shape, but if your hair sticks up a little bit, pay attention to that outline of your hair. Really look at that outline. And how does your hair come down around your neck? Maybe it's curly, wavy, maybe it's coming out like this. So we can draw a few lines to help us kind of get a feel for the direction of that. And then how does your hair come across your forehead? Does it cover your forehead? Is it pulled back? Maybe you have a few shorter pieces. So really look at your hair and try to look at the shape of it instead of drawing each individual hair. Okay. We're kind of taking a long time here, but I thought I would go slow. So hopefully you have kind of a lot of your drawing in right now. You've got your eyebrows, you've got your eyes. Look at the distance. How far from this eyebrow till your hair starts? If you have a taller forehead, you need to start your hair up a little higher because maybe you have a bigger forehead. That will make it look more like you if you show that measurement really well. And I'm just making this up here because I'm not drawing an actual person, I'm drawing an imaginary person. But on you, I want you to look at what is that distance in relationship from, your eyebrows to where your hair begins, how far from your eyebrow to where your eyelid starts. Are your eyebrows closer or farther from where your eyelid starts? This measurement knows the distance from your eyes to your nose. Do you have a shorter nose? Do you have a longer nose? Distance from nose to mouth. It's different on everyone. And this distance, from your mouth to the sides of your face this is kind of a narrow face. Is your face a little wider? Do you have more space? Okay, so now we've gotten down the basics of how to draw a face. Sorry, this was a little bit long. But you've got your eraser, so if you need to change anything, go ahead, erase it and change it. You've got these lines down, and the next video we'll talk about how to go from a line drawing to a painting. Thanks for drawing with me.